Buddy. Hey, sis. Excuse me. Thank you. I was hoping you would do that. Oh, it's Tuesday morning, which means it's AA day. Um, I'm tired. I didn't sleep very well last night. But I'm committed to doing the AA. So, hey, Hugh. Um, so, yeah, AA day. And my sister's coming up on 11 years. So, I'm pretty excited about that. She's right behind me. So, you rock. You got this. Sister, you got it. I don't know why I grabbed the big book. We're in the 12 steps and 12 traditions. Oh man, what a day, what a day. So I feel really blessed. Um, Putting in the hard work of staying sober and making a better life. Even though, yes, we still struggle. Um, I'm not perfect. I have my flaws, my character defects, and that's just who I am and part of me. And working day to day, working my steps, and keep going. It is all worth it. Anyways, so I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We are in, please don't be judging each other in the comments or the chats or any of that because it's just rude. And this is a meeting, so please, please, please be kind. I always put in the descriptions what I'm reading, the page number, the story or step or tradition, whichever it is. So, yeah. One, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Two, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Three, made the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Four, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Five, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Six, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. Seven, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We are in the 12 steps, 12 Traditions book, and we are on step 11 on page 96. If you don't have a book, it's all right. I am going to read it anyways and then share what I felt the first time I saw it or heard this or read it or whichever, and how it's helped me to stay sober. Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Prayer and meditation are our principal means of conscious contact with God. We AAs are active folk, enjoying the satisfaction of dealing with the realities of life, usually for the first time in our lives, and strenuously trying to help the next alcoholic who comes along. So it isn't surprising that we often tend to slight serious meditation and prayer as something not really necessary. To be sure, we feel it is something that might help us to meet our occasional emergency, but at first, many of us are apt to regard it as a somewhat mysterious skill of clergymen, from which we may hope to get a second-hand benefit. Or perhaps we don't believe in these things at all. To certain newcomers and to those one-time agnostics who still cling to the AA group as their higher power, claims for the power of prayer may, despite all the logic and experience in proof of it, still be unconvincing or quite objectionable. Those of us who once felt this way can certainly understand and sympathize. We well remember how something deep inside us kept rebelling against the idea of bowing before only God, or bowing, sorry. Many of us had strong logic to which proved there was a God. What about all the accidents, sickness, cruelty, and injustice in the world? What about all those unhappy lives which were the direct result of unfortunate birth and uncontrollable circumstances? Surely there could be no justice in this scheme of things, and therefore no God at all. Hi, Ava. Sometimes we took a slight different track. Sure, we said to ourselves, the hen probably did come before the egg. No doubt the universe had a first cause of some sort. The God of the atom may be hot and cold by turns, but certainly there wasn't any evidence of a God who knew or cared about human beings. We liked AA all right and were quick to say that it had done miracles, but we recoiled from meditation and prayer as obstinately as the scientists who refused to perform a certain experiment lest it prove his pet theory wrong. Of course, we finally did experiment, and when expected results followed, we felt different. In fact, we knew different, and so we were sold on meditation and prayer. And that we have found can happen to anybody who tries. It has been well said that almost the only scoffers at prayer are those who never tried it enough. Those of us who have come to make regular use of prayer would no more do without it than we would refuse air, food, or sunshine. And for the same reason, when we refuse air, light, or food, the body suffers. And when we turn away from meditation and prayer, we likewise deprive our minds. Hey, Tony, our emotions and our intuitions of vitally needed support. As the body can fail its purpose for lack of nourishment, so can the soul. We all need light, God's reality, the nourishment of strength, and the atmosphere of His grace. To an amazing extent, the fact of AA life confirmed this ageless truth. There is a direct linkage among self-examination, meditation, and prayer. Taken separately, these practices can bring much relief and benefit, but when they are logically related and interwoven, the result is an unshakable foundation for life. Now and then we may be granted a glimpse of the ultimate reality, which is God's kingdom, and we will be confronted as assumed that our own destiny is that realm. Now I lost my spot. I hate that. Okay. As we have seen, self-searching is the means by which we bring new vision, action, and grace to bear upon the dark and negative side of our natures. It is a step in the development of that kind of humility that makes it possible for us to receive God's help. Yet it is only a step. We will want to go further. We will want the good that is in us all, even in the worst of us. To flower and to grow, most certainly we shall need bracing air and an abundance of food. But first of all, we shall want sunlight. Nothing much can grow in the dark. Meditation is our step out into the sun. How then shall we meditate? The actual experience of meditation and prayer across the centuries is, of course, immense. The world libraries and places of worship are a treasure trove for all seekers. It is to be hoped that every AA who has a religious connection, we emphasize meditation, will return to the practice of the devotion as never before. But what about the rest of us who, less fortunate, don't even know how to begin? We might start like this. First, let's get a really good prayer. We don't have far to seek. The great men and women of all religions have left us a wonderful supply. Here, let us consider one that is a classic. Its author was a man who, for several hundred years now, has been rated as a saint. We won't be biased or scared off by the fact because although he was not an alcoholic, he did, like us, go through the emotional wringer. And as he came out the other side of the painful experience, this prayer was his expression of what he could then see, feel, and wish to become. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I might bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I might bring joy. Lord, grant me that I may seek rather than comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. That one is forgiving. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal light. Amen. As beginners in meditation, we might now reread this prayer several times, very slow, savoring every word, and trying to make it in the deep meaning of which phrase and in and idea. It will help if we can drop all resistance to what our friend says, for in meditation, debate has no place. We rest quietly with the thoughts of someone who knows so that we may experience and learn. As though lying upon a sunlit beach, let us relax and breathe deeply of the spirit atmosphere with which the grace of this prayer surrounds us. Let us become willing to partake and be strengthened and lifted up by the sheer spiritual power, beauty, and love of which these magnificent words are the carriers. Let us look now upon the sea and ponder what its mystery is. And let us lift our eyes to the far horizon, beyond which we shall seek all those wonders still unseen. This one's a long one, guys. I might have to do this one in two. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how long I've been live. Where do I figure that out? I don't know. Okay, I've only been reading for 17 minutes. That's not very long. Shucks. Somebody, this is nonsense. It isn't practical. When such thoughts break in, we might recall a little ruefully how much store we used to set by imagination as it tried to create reality out of bottles. Yes, we revealed in that sort of drinking, didn't we? And though sober nowadays, don't we often try to do much the same thing? Perhaps our trouble was not that we used our imagination. Perhaps the real trouble was our almost total inability to point imagination towards the right objectives. There's nothing the matter with constructive imagination. All sound achievements rest upon it. After all, no man can build a house until he first envisions a plan for it. No man can build. I already read that part. Well, meditation is like that too. It helps to envision our spiritual objectives before we try to move towards it. So let us get back to the sunlit beach. I could go for a sunlit beach right now. It helps to envision I already read that part. Or to the plains, or to the mountains, if you prefer. When by such simple devices we have placed ourselves in a mood in which we can focus undisturbed on constructive imagination, we might process like this. Once more, we read our prayer and again try to see what its inner essence is. Well, think now about the man who first uttered the prayer. First of all, he wanted to become a channel. Then he asked for the grace to bring love, forgiveness, harmony, truth, faith, hope, and joy to every human being he could. Next came the expression of an aspiration, but a hope for himself. He hoped, God willing, that he might be able to find some of these treasures too. This he would try to do by what he called self-forgetting. What did he mean by self-forgetting, and how did he propose to accomplish that? He thought it better to give comfort than to receive it. Better to understand than to be understood. Better to forgive than to be forgiven. This much could be a fragment of what is called meditation. Perhaps our very first attempt at a mood, a flyer into the realm of spirit, if you like. It ought to be followed by a good look at where we stand now, and a further look at what might happen in our lives we were able to move closer to the of idea we have been trying to glimpse. Meditation is something which can always be further developed. It has no boundaries, neither or either of width or height. Aided by such instructions and examples as we can find, it is essentially an individual adventure, something which each one of us works out in our own minds, or his own minds, or his own ways. Sorry. But its object is always the same: to improve our conscious contact with God, with His grace, wisdom, and love. And let's always remember that meditation is in reality intensely practical. One of its first fruits is emotional balance. With it, we can broaden and deepen the channel between ourselves and God as we understand Him. Now, what of prayer? Prayer is the rising of the heart and mind to God. And in this sense, it includes meditation. How may we go about it? And how does it fit in with meditation, prayer, and commonly understood, is a petition to God. Having opened our channel as best we can, we try to ask for those right things of which we and others are in the greatest need. And we think that the whole range of our needs is well defined by that part of step 11, which says, knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. A request for this fits in any part of our day. In the morning, we think of the hours to come. Perhaps we think of our day's work and the chances it may afford us to be useful and helpful, or of some special problem that it may bring. Possibly today we'll see a continuation of a serious and as yet unresolved problem left over from yesterday. Our immediate temptation will be to ask for specific solutions to specific problems and for the ability to help others people as we have already thought they should be helped. In that case, we are asking God to do it our way. Therefore, we ought to consider each request carefully to see what its real merit is. Yeah. I shouldn't look up from the book because I always lose my spot. Even so, when making specific requests, it will be well to add to each one of them this qualification. If it be thy will. We ask simply that throughout the day, God place in us the best understanding of His will that we can have for that day, and that we be given the grace by which we may carry it out. As the day goes on, we can pause where situations must be met and decisions made, and renew the simple request, thy will, not mine, be done. If at these points our emotional disturbance happens to be great, we will more surely keep our balance, provided we remember and repeat to ourselves a particular prayer or phrase that has appealed to us in our reading or meditation. Just saying it over and over will often enable us to clear a channel choked up with anger, fear, frustration, or misunderstanding, and permit us to return to the surest help of all, our search for God's will, not our own. In the moment of stress, at these critical moments, if we remind ourselves that it is better to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved, we will be following the intent of step 11. Of course, it is reasonable and understandable that the question is often asked, why can't we take a specific and troubling dilemma straight to God, and in prayer secure from Him sure and definite answer to our request? It don't work that way. This can be done by it, but it has hazards. We have seen AAs ask with much earnestness and faith for God explicit guidance on matters ranging all the way from a shattering domestic or financial crisis to correcting a minor personal fault like tardiness. Quite often, however, the thoughts prove to be well-intentioned, unconscious rationalization. The AA, or indeed any man who tries to run his life rigidly by this kind of prayer, by this self-serving demand or God for replies, is a particularly disconcerting individual. To any questioning or criticism of his actions, he instantly prefers his reliance upon prayer for guidance in all matters. It's killing my neck. Yeah, I'm almost done with this one. Great or small, he may have forgiven the possibility that his own wishful thinking and the human tardiness to rationalize have distorted his so-called guidance. With the best of intentions, he tends to force his own will into all sorts of situations, all problems, with the comfortable assurance that he is acting under God's specific direction. Under such an illusion, he can, of course, create great havoc without in the least intending it. We also fall into another similar temptation. We form ideas as to what we think God's will is for other people. We say to ourselves, this one ought to be cured of his fatal malady, or that one ought to be relieved of his emotional pain. And we pray for these specific things. Such prayers, of course, are fundamentally good acts, but often they are based upon a supis, sup, blah, blah. Words are hard today. Supposition that we know God's will for the person for whom we pray. This means that side by side with an earnest prayer, there can be a certain amount of presumptions and conceit in us. It is AA's experience that, particularly in these cases, we ought to pray that God's will, whatever it is, be done for others as well as for ourselves. In AA, we have found that the actual good result of prayer are beyond question. They are matters of knowledge and experience. All those who have persisted have found strength not ordinarily their own. They have found wisdom beyond their usual compatibility. And they have increasingly found a peace of mind which can stand firm in the face of difficult circumstances. We discover that we do receive guidance for our lives to just about the extent that we stop making demands upon God to give it to us on order and on our terms. Almost any experienced AA will tell how his affairs have taken remarkable and unexpected turns for the better as he tried to improve his conscious contact with God. He will also report that out of every season of grief or suffering, when the hand of God seemed heavy or even unjust, new lessons for living were learned. New resources of courage were uncovered, and that finally escapable the conviction came that God does move it in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. All this should be encouraging news for those who recoil from prayer because they don't believe in it or because they feel themselves cut off from God's help and direction. All of us, without exception, pass through times when we can pray only with the greatest exertion of will. Occasionally, we go even further than this. We are seized with a rebellion so sickening that we simply won't pray. When these things happen, we should not think too ill of ourselves. We should simply resume prayer as soon as we can, doing what we know to be good for us. Perhaps one of the greatest rewards of meditation and prayer is the sense of belonging that comes to us. We no longer live in a completely hostile world. We are no longer lost and frightened and purposeless. The moment we catch even a glimpse of God's will, the moment we begin to see truth, justice, and love as the real and eternal things in life, we are no longer deeply disturbed by all the seeming evidence to the contrary that surrounds us in purely human affairs. We know that God lovingly watches over us. We know that when we turn to Him and will be well with us here and hereafter. And that's the end of that step. It is hard to turn yourself to something else. When I first got sober, I would always say, I'm not going to make it very far. I was setting myself up. And that's what we do, is we first start thinking about all those bad things that, like, there is no God, there is none of this. You don't have to believe in a God. You don't have to say a prayer a specific way or however many times you want. My sponsor taught me to just simply say it's God's will, not mine. Because I would get so irritated with things that I would just be like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I still get that way. But I'm struggling at work right now. I missed Sunday because I wasn't feeling good and I was in a mind of my own, thinking that I'm going to be minus over 5 hours of what I can cover. And instead of just going to work on little sleep, I decided to stay home and try to not be super dizzy. I've been dealing with dizzy spells really bad lately. I don't know why. But um, 11 explains it perfectly on the prayers and meditation. I do some of both. Um, I haven't gone back out to do my walking. Um, Procrastinating, thinking that I don't know if I want to. But I need to do something. And me doing these meetings helps me as much as I'm trying to help others. And learning how to live through your daily life of just being grateful for what you have. I have gotten blessed. I saw my parents the other day, and we have been um, purchasing a trailer from my parents. They are fixed income, and they don't have somebody that can always take them to meetings. My sponsor's messaging me. Thank you. Anyways, so my husband and I are taking my parents to appointments. My dad is a veteran, and so they go to the VA for my dad, and so they need a ride, and I could drive their truck, but I don't want to take the chance of one of them falling out of my car or out of the truck or anywhere that is not going to be good. And so I do take my parents to where they need to go on those appointments. And I do sometimes get irritated and want to argue. And I just have to remind myself that they provided for me my whole life. And my dad didn't have to. Um, he didn't have to support me and my sister, but he did. And I'm proud to call him my dad. And even through all of our fights and stuff. So being able to do service of any kind helps me. Um, and I do say my prayers and I do meditate. Um, I think about those days that I was drinking and the all the hurt that I did to so many people, including myself. And being able to share my story here and feel okay enough to cry and okay enough to explain why I do these meetings. It's just the service work. It's sharing what I've learned and sharing my sobriety journey with everybody. It's an open book for that. I am still slowly making amends for things that were when I was a kid. I was a bad kid, man. I was really bad. Me and my sister both. Um, we knew that we had alcoholics in our bloodline. Our birth father was an alcoholic, and I uh, I forgave him, but I won't ever forget it. He's in wherever hell or wherever he is. Uh, I wish he would have got sober because he probably would have been a different person. And I can say that because I have gone through that. I have been the alcoholic that's drinking, and I remember pretty much all of it. And without having the AA meetings, I don't think that I would be sitting here at all. I would have probably been gone. And so, um, oh, that's because, Tony, you are in the regular, you're chatting with just me. That's why you're not seeing you in the comments. You're you're messaging me via YouTube message. It's a new feature, and I'm learning it as well. So, anyways, but being able to do service work of any type for me, especially when it comes to uh, narcotics or alcoholics, I do think that um, once I, I know because you're in a regular messaging, you're not. I don't know. Y'all, I don't know how to do these things on here. I'm not on the YouTube side. I'm on StreamYard, and so I can't fix that. She's saying can't see any comments. Um, I will try to figure that out. It's all right. Um, we love you. It's confusing. I know it's very confusing, but yeah. So growing up, we knew that our father was an alcoholic. Um, our mom, our mom knew, and she tried to tell us that you don't want to uh, go with him, and then we kept acting like idiots, and then we ended up deciding to go live with him, and he did some unimaginable things that the parent should not do that, and so we had to tell our mom that things were going on up there, and so she took us home. He didn't have custody of us. I broke my ankle and he didn't take me to the doctor. I literally broke it. It's still not fixed. And, I understand because he was a drunk. And I can say that my my youngest son um, saw me in a very bad state. I flipped out in an emergency room, and I got code red called on me. And they had asked my husband if he wanted me to be locked up for 48 hours, and he said no. He very well could have, and he didn't. And you know, we have our problems. We do have our problems, but who doesn't, right? Um, I just know that using all of my steps every single day, it helps me out to calm myself and don't explode too far. I mean, some things get really, really annoying, like the dang beeper at work. The beeper is annoying, but I deal with it. I think I kind of freaked the guy out because I reached over and moved his stuff, and he's like, "Well, I don't think he spoke English, but I didn't say anything. I did say something after I moved it. I said, sorry, it was beepy. Beep, beep, beep. Because, we're all wearing earplugs because it's really loud in there. But, well, we get to listen to music. It's quite nice working and being able to listen to music. Unless you're dancing while you're supposed to be packing boxes. Yes, like me. And that's why I got slow tallies on my. Anyways, I did go back to full duty of work, and then I went to Mount Hood for 2 nights. What a mistake that was. It was a bad trip, but we came home, and we let it be what it was, and I've been taught that through AA, and you know, if I get too annoyed with something, I'll put in my earbuds and I will walk away. I have no problem doing that. I will just turn away and not get into it. I'd rather just deal with it on my own and pray for whatever I need to pray for, or meditate whatever I need to meditate. And for me, meditating, I made it up. My sponsor said play video game. There you are. Now I see you. But meditating, it can be confusing, but it is what you want it to be. Um, I will play games on my phone, and that will be great. Um, I put in music. I listen to a lot of music, and it helps me to move around, calm myself down, and do on myself. So being step 12 is I think um, I always say step 4 was the hardest. It might have been, but some of them, when you get into them, it can be hard on you when you're 11 years sober. And I I will say prayers for other people for them to find God's will and not their own. Because if I don't pray, yes, Tony, I'm saying it. If I don't pray, I don't feel better. And so I pray for other people and not myself. And that's what we need to do. And keep going. Because you don't have to have that drink. You never have to pick up that drink. And that's what we all need to realize is you don't have to start, which means you don't have to pick up that drink. You can walk away from it. I do. Every time I go to the grocery store or I go to a restaurant, I have gone into bars. I have been in casinos and I have stayed sober. And I didn't think I could until I gave myself the courage to know that I can go without it. I do not have to drink it. And that's how I stay away from drinking it. Keep reminding yourself that you don't have to drink. And that's our way of changing our minds of that. A lot of us, when we first come in, we're like, I can't go without that drink. And it's like a constant thought. And actually, yes, we can go without that. We can go without it. And don't pick it up. And I always remind myself, don't put myself in a situation where it's going to make me stuck somewhere. So, anyways, I'm tired. I've been up since 4:30. I didn't get to sleep till 11:30 last night. I'm watching the darn phone. Yeah, one of those nights. Insomnia. Keep you awake. But if anybody's got any questions, please ask them, and I will answer them. And then I'll give it about another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to get off of here. Yeah, I'm probably going to need a nap. I thought about taking a nap this morning, and I was like, nah. So, anyway. You take a lot of naps, sis. You get insomnia all the time. You can call me if you are up in the middle of the night and can't sleep. I'll tell you a bedtime story and you'll go to sleep, I'm sure. I will remember that. Next time I'm calling Tony. That's what we do. Sponsors, sponsees, we're there, rain or shine. And I was up Saturday night. My sister needed me, so I saw her text, and I was like, oh, I gotta get up. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream, and please remember, if you're struggling with addiction or alcoholism, please reach out. You can go to any hospital and ask them to help you, or you could go to any church and ask them to help you get the numbers to AA or any of those things. And you're not alone. You're not the only only person struggling with this battle. There's a lot of us, and we all need to help each other out. So please make that call. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.